Welcome, everyone, to another scintillating episode of the Marketing Companion. And today, we're going to unravel a puzzle. Why aren't more brands using influencers to launch products? I mean, it just makes so much sense. And my friend Amanda Russell's in the house. And before we get into the show, I want to remind you that our show is sponsored by the wonderful people at Brevo. I mean, they've got more than 500,000 customers across 180 countries, including eBay, Michelin, and Sodexo. And I mean, they have a pricing model that small to medium-sized businesses can use too. It's really quite extraordinary. Check it out. You've got nothing to lose because you can use their services for free. You can try it for free. Go to brevo.com/marketing companion. And if you do decide to sign up, be sure to use companion as a promo code to get 50% off your first 3 months. Well, Amanda, I want to start by telling a little story that sort of prompted this topic. So I guess it was a year ago, about exactly a year ago, I saw this article that Ed Sheeran, the pop star, launched a new hot sauce with Heinz. Now, this makes all the sense in the world. Ed Sheeran is a big, big star. Ed could sell anything he wants to sell. People love him. They adore him. If he said, oh, go buy my tissue papers, they would buy his tissue papers. If they said, go buy my hair gel, specially formulated for redheads, they would do it because they love him. Now, he loves ketchup and he loves hot sauces, and he always carries a bottle of hot sauce with him. And he had this idea. He wanted to create his own hot sauce. Now, think about how awkward and difficult it would be for a pop star to find some co-packer to create this hot sauce. Well, he landed a deal with Heinz. Now, this is great for Heinz because they've got a built-in marketing channel. They've got millions of new fans that are going to listen to Ed Sheeran when he says, go buy this, this new hot sauce. And Ed doesn't have to make it. He doesn't have to grow the tomatoes and the jalapeno peppers. He doesn't have to process them. He doesn't have to bottle them. He doesn't have to put it on trucks and distribute them. He doesn't have to negotiate with these big box retailers, these big grocery stores for SKUs and shelf space. Heinz already has it. So it just makes all the sense in the world. And what I thought was, okay, here we go. This is the first big effort like this. Now we're really going to see it. We're going to see these brands wake up and start to launch products in association with these influencers. And it just hasn't happened. I mean, at least I haven't seen it happen, and I've been paying attention to it. So, Amanda, what are your thoughts on this?
To be honest, I'm actually really shocked that was. I feel like they've been doing this brand endorsement and co-creator partnerships for a long time.
The brand endorsements is different, though.
Right, like the reverse endorsement, I almost call it, like where brands become fans of creators. Like,
yes,
who was it that did the Dunkin' Donuts? Charlie D'Amelio or whatever her name was. Remember that Charlie D'Amelio, and she really loved Dunkin' Donuts.
Yeah.
And there was these I think they've been. It's no different than to me, anyways. I think it's new to really. I actually would like to do a poll. Who thinks this feels like this is a new thing? Like,
all right. So she's polling the audience on a podcast that you can't see.
But
we have an audience here. We have a studio.
I think maybe because I've been so entrenched in it, and I think that maybe I have a view that co-creator partnerships have been around for a while. But I agree with you when it's like they're not fully leveraged, and also more the fact that it's not just celebrities. In fact, celebrities are getting waning. Like, yes, they're popular, but they're not necessarily converting because people have lost trust. So it's almost like instead of putting products, brands, ideas into the market, now with the increase of technology and automation and this like desire for humanity, that why aren't we putting people into the market first? And then they
Right.
can sell whatever. So
Well,
people first, because everything, whether it's B2B or B2C, it's really just human to human now. And that's a differentiator. So you find somebody that has, let's say they're environmental sustainability. They might have like a very small niche audience. But if you're a tech company that's trying to launch a platform
mm,
that environmentalists could use, that their 100 audience is really, really powerful if they're, heading up a center on eco-sustainability, at a university somewhere. Um, so I almost think we're starting to reverse and go back to the original model way back, which was people first, and then the product services and ideas start to follow.
but what I'm seeing is, so there are lots of influencers launching their own products. Now, maybe, I mean, maybe I haven't been seeing it as much as you or others, but so you mentioned Charlie D'Amelio, if she launched a clothing line. It's not in association with H&M. It's not in association with, you know,
Silly.
Macy's or something like that. She did it on her own, right? Emma Chamberlain, who's sort of she started out, actually, I think she started out as like a mommy blogger around she did like cleaning and stuff, I think, if I've got that right. So she started, a coffee company. And then there's lots of examples. Blair Walnuts created a jewelry line, and then you've got the what's the Kardashian that did all the
Kendall or Kylie Jenner makeup.
Kylie Jenner, right? So now you can buy Kylie Jenner's products in kiosks in an airport. Now
Now it'd
it's
be
not
interesting though, are they
it's
really?
not it's not L'Oreal, but they're doing it on their own, and they should, right? Because they've got the power, and that's just like these brands to me, they just seem like they're asleep at the wheel because they're gonna be disrupted by these influencers, right? I did a presentation at a big consumer product company a few weeks ago, and they're saying, "Oh, Unilever's doing this, and Procter and Gamble's doing this." And finally, I said, "Those aren't your competitors. They are now, but your next competitor is some 26-year-old TikTok star. Those are the ones that are going to, take you over because they're building this audience of millions and millions, and they're going to start, eating into your thing." The extreme example of that is the opportunity that someone like Mr. Beast would have. I mean, he tried his burger thing, and then I think he's tried like a candy bar or something. Not sure how that's going, but the guy has the potential to literally launch anything he wants. But the influencers, they're doing it on their own. And I'm thinking, where is the brand? So I mean, I'm not seeing it, but maybe I'm not studying it as closely as you.
Well, I think there's two different there's very different ways to skin, like a million different ways to skin the pie, right, of business. And I think that creators are like the new entrepreneurs.
Right.
And you
Sure.
actually have people going to business school and being like, I'm here, but I really want to be a famous, whatever, fitness influencer or whatever it is. And so I think there's co-ownership of brands is what I believe is the future, which is, and they are smart people. There are various examples of this, but I don't think it's being done to quite the extent of like, why become the clothing manufacturer? Why start sourcing material and fabric or whatever it is? If you be really good at what you do, and then figure out who's really good at what they do, what you actually love, and partner together and have like kind of it's like a resource swap and actually get both sides of the party invested in the brand's success. When creators are, a lot of them are great entrepreneurs, but they're not necessarily like, why do we have to reinvent? I will say with everything, why do we have to reinvent the wheel? Why we have to become like the manufacturers or the service providers, when find who's really great at doing it in their field. And then you're not doubly as successful. I think when you have the right partnership, you're like 10x as successful.
It could be.
And but you could also have somebody that there's various ends of the spectrum, right? You have Mr. Beast or Kardashian who are so big, they are bigger than most like product brands. So of course it would make
Mr.
sense for
Beast
them.
is bigger than Netflix.
I know it's crazy. Well, but it would make sense for someone of that size to then like bring in someone from Netflix or bring in because they are that size. But I think
Yeah.
there's the question is always in the middle.
Well, yeah, but I think there's opportunities there too. So like Mr. Beast, I think he just did a deal partnership. He's creating like a TV series for I can't remember which media company he's doing it for. So that I mean that's just a natural for him, right? That's what he's good at. Um, and here's something else I just thought of that's interesting. So my undergrad was at West Virginia University. I got a journalism degree there, and I just was talking to somebody from up at WVU, and they have merged their journalism media school with their creative arts center.
Hmm.
So this is like the actors and the singers and the performers, and they've merged this with the media school. It's all one school now.
That's the
Sort
thing.
of saying it's all, it's all together. You've got to learn to be a creator. Let's, take down. I thought that was a very interesting idea.
That's actually how it is at UT now too, where they have the Moody Center
Texas. You're saying
is
Texas. Because
right.
where I
Yeah,
live in Knoxville, UT has a whole different meaning.
that's right. And it's again in Canada where UT's Toronto. So
Yeah.
you're right.
For our international listeners who are completely confused now, I live in Tennessee. We have a big university here. And so actually University of Texas and University of Tennessee, they're in the same football conference now. But they officially designated that University of Tennessee can be called UT. And Texas is like Tex or something like that. So just mentioning that. Just mentioning that. But I think it's interesting that, these things are merging. And I think, so like when I gave this workshop at this big consumer product brand, I mean, it just like you just get this vibe that everything is just so slow and everything has to be approved by
Yeah.
lawyers. And I even talked to one of the brand managers and I said, wow, I mean, it must be really hard to work at a place like this because I mean, everything just moves at a glacial pace. And he said, you go to any big company and this is the way it is. And that's why I think some small to medium sized companies may have a bigger opportunity with this than some of the big players. And I mean, if you look at, even like in small to medium sized towns, why couldn't you be partnering with local influencers or regional influencers, to help you with products? And then again, this is different than celebrity endorsements.
No, I think partnerships are like if you think about it, they're the cornerstone to all successful business strategies. And I don't really believe that anyone is self-made, any business or any person, unless they were like delivered by a stork on a desert island. We need people to be successful. And if you look at it like resource swaps, in order to grow, especially now that everything is pretty much a commodity, like, and I actually think I was thinking about this the other day because it was a commercial of some pizza joint. And what was really cool about their advertising was that they were not advertising the benefits of like how good their pizza is because everything is like margin. Like if I say, this, I'm talking about benefits. Like my pepperoni is, I don't know, farm raised or sourced or whoever, that they care
Farm
about.
raised pepperoni. I'm all in.
Yeah, farm raised, keto, whatever. But what's interesting is like they weren't talking about benefits. They had partnered with some rapper that was very in tune with their culture of their audience. And they're not trying to compete on benefits of the product. No
Yeah.
one cares so much about the product. They care about about a story or what makes them feel like they belong, or they care about they're part of the community of this rapper.
Mhm.
So why like go out on your own? Why are we not looking more forward to like who's doing things right? Why aren't we coming together and leveraging the success? Like there's a sort of an exchange on both sides, and it's something that I've it was like kind of a thorn in my side for a long time in terms of not understanding why more people didn't do that. And this was like way back when I started in YouTube when it was like a dinosaur, and it had no respect. And that was one of the kind of my goal was I was all of a sudden doing YouTube, and I was in business school, and I remember thinking like how embarrassed, like I would hide it from like my family and former colleagues and whatever, because it was like embarrassing.
Mm.
What do you do? Like you is it legal? Like you YouTube, like how does this pay bills? And I remember thinking, how am I ever going to get respect on YouTube or doing whatever I'm doing jumping jacks on a flip cam, get cell phones, cameras in my living room. Well, in order to do that, I need to find someone that has someone by one, I mean a brand, especially back then, that has the trust already has the trust, that
Mm.
already has the credibility. I don't have any. So how do you never learn the importance of influence and trust better than when you don't have it? And how can you get it? And so I became obsessed with like, how do I, and again, it came from insecurity. Like, how do I prove that I have a brain and that this is legal and that we grow this? And I think part of it was also disrespect for my parents too. My brother's in medical school, and my parents were like, are you living on the streets in New York? Like, what is going on with you? And so I thought I had this dream, and I could go over a million different parts. My whole business was built on partnerships, because yes, it was YouTube, but it also became one of the like biggest fitness equipment brands and subscription models and clothing brands. And a lot of I was not a clothing producer. I did partnerships with now some of the bigger clothing activewear lines for women. But again, activewear wasn't even a genre then.
Mm.
And one of the first ones that I talk about to my students a lot, because it was so iconic to me, and it's probably not iconic to many others, but I had a dream of New York City when I was very young, and I always, from Home Alone 2, that was my whole, like, if I were to look back on those reflective moments, Home Alone 2, seeing the Plaza Hotel in New York City, I thought was like the palace of the world, and that you had really made it if you could go up to the Plaza in New York. So I wanted to go to New York. I was doing YouTube, and I remember thinking, if I could partner with the Plaza Hotel, I could get respect. And like, but think about how seemingly different these things. YouTube back then, fitness, the Plaza Hotel, which is an iconic luxury hotel that's like the Castle of New York. How am I going to even not even get taken seriously, not be like chauffeured out of there by trying to ask them to do, I had a bridal boot camp idea, and which is now bridal boot camp.
So did it work out? Did you
It
actually
did, yeah, it did.
Did you
It did.
really? That's
Yeah,
pretty
it
cool.
became what is now bridal boot camp, which at the time, I did a lot. I've tried to figure out who was in charge there, and it took a few different, because it's a lot of old stuffy old guys, and that would not take this seriously. Well, their events director was a former New York ballerina, and I figured I would have more segue with her, but also that she was new, and they had just gone through this massive, massive renovation where they were supposed to be the most iconic ballroom in the world. They had a problem. People didn't even think you could get booked. They thought you had to be royalty or whatever to get even booked for a wedding. So the Plaza Hotel is not getting booked. So I have an audience, especially in New York, of these like young, fit girls, specifically because I had started doing a lot of like in-person pop-up stuff.
Mm.
And so my pitch to them was, listen, you've got like William Turconi doing hair and Spa Caudalie and like your food mixologist and chef and all of these things that nobody can see or know about. No one could even, they think you have to stand in line to even walk into the plaza. It's like all, red ribboned off. We have to get people in here. So I will throw you a big boot camp in the ballroom with the lighting and the sound, and we'll do mini hors d'oeuvres and mini facials and everything that they already had. The jewelry, they lend people jewelry for events. Let's do that, and then we'll invite all the press too, and all of New York City's most eligible brides, which is my audience, and we'll call it Bridal Boot Camp. And basically, I got a wedding that would have cost like a lot of money for myself. That was not a wedding. And it was on the morning show the next day. And then we did a whole series, and
Wow.
that became like that was one of my, and that, for me, I mean, there was more lucrative partnerships, but for me, that was the icon. Like, and I bring that story up because it seems so disconnected, and also, and the audience for both was so different, but also because it's like, there's always a way. I really believe that if you want to work with someone meaning a brand, a person, like, give me a list. And then I started creating those lists and being like, okay, who's on the hit list next? If you can really find a way, figure out what's important to them and how you can be of value and really deliver that value, like, you can't be fake. If you can't deliver, then no one will ever work with you again. But if you can make them exponentially successful, you have, like, I mean, first, and it's so fun. Then you build incredible relationships and everyone is exponentially more successful.
Well, I want to build on something you said there about, how when you start talking about the pizza brand, I mean, they're not really talking about their ingredients anymore.
No.
And when I did a case study for the new book that I'm working on about Liquid Death. Oh. And the founder of Liquid Death said, he had this great take, and he said, look, if you try to compete with the big existing brands, and if you try to say, we have, ours is a little bit different this way, or we use this special ingredient, or we have this filtered water, or whatever. He said, there's no way you can compete because they're bigger than you. They're just going to copy whatever you did. They're going to get more of the filtered water. They're going to get more of the whatever ingredient. He said, the only thing that matters is the brand. They can't copy the brand. They can't copy what you mean, what you stand for. And I mean, that's a particularly interesting case study, but I think it sort of builds on, look, if you partner with the right people, that can be the only thing that differentiates you. That could be the only thing that really matters, because so much in our world, is a commodity. In my town, we've probably got 25 different pizza places. I can't really name one differentiator. Pizza Hut, nobody out pizzas the Hut. What does that mean? What does that mean? Why would I go there? Right?
I actually would go. I love Pizza Hut. Sorry, so you're making me hungry. It's lunchtime here. Okay, so not to interrupt, but to interrupt. Shocking. So is that not that people are now, audiences follow people, not brands? And we are all into this idea of branding. The people decide our brand. Our brands are not like a logo or a color. It's like, what do people think of when they think of you? And what you're talking about is it's a relationship. So Mark, we were talking last week about something else, and you told me about the example. You're trying to illustrate a point to me, and it stuck out. You're like, there's a hotel that I stay at whenever I go to, I don't forget which city it was.
New Brunswick.
Okay, wherever it is. And you're like, there's nicer hotels, but I always stay at this hotel. Let me tell you why. Whenever I stay at this hotel, the woman at the front desk knows me. She gives me a hug. When I leave, she gives me a hug. She asks me how I am. She asks me how, like, my life is. She knows things. There's no amount of advertising that could convince you to stay at that hotel versus the other hotels. It's not about the marketing. And so it's like the people, the audience is the market. So so as brands and leaders of brands, how do we create the environment, the infrastructure to seed people to have those experiences, to feel that way, to have the right people, to build the relationships? I think.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and a lot of it, I think the opportunity today is, one of the things, I've been advocating is increasingly the personal brand is the brand, especially with small to medium-sized businesses, right? And that was the point of the story about the lady in the hotel. There's no amount of advertising that can get me to stay at that hotel. I stay there because of a person. And I think it's the same thing. I mean, bringing it back to like Heinz and Ed Sheeran. If Heinz introduced a new hot sauce, it wouldn't even be on my radar screen, right? But now Ed Sheeran is sponsoring it, and there's a story in the Wall Street Journal about it, right?
There's a story there. There's
Yeah,
a
I
real,
mean, there's a story there. So, so,
well,
so I think it's just a hugely missed opportunity by brands today. And again, a lot of these big companies are slow on the uptake, but meanwhile, these influencers are creating their own brands. Why aren't these legacy companies partnering not just for endorsement, but I mean really partnering in a big way? Okay, here's a prediction. I think 2025, that'll be the year where we start seeing this. Because I mean, maybe it's just taking them a while to get all the lawyers in order or something like that. But it's just got to happen.
but on the flip side, we could also look at cases like partnerships that have done really poorly, right? And it's like, well, why does that one do poorly and why does that one do great? And there's like, the
Like
example that
what's done poorly.
so what's done poorly? So the Burger King and Conor McGregor. Do you remember when Conor
Yeah, but
McGregor?
that's an endorsement, right?
Yes, well, I mean,
I mean, there's no
I
Conor
assume it was,
McGregor
but
hamburger.
but it's still, but
Yeah.
I assume it was. I don't know the actual details of what the
Yeah.
arrangements are. However, a lot of like when you think that like Jessica Alba is honest and honest company and like a lot of these things that we're thinking, oh yeah, that they are the brand. No, they're not. They're the face. They are the face. They might get equity, but they're not the actual business person. If you look at, not that I'm going to knock on Honest Company, but if certain celebrity brands where they're like, oh, Reese Witherspoon, oh, whatever, they're not actually the ones that are it's people that have invested in the person. And that I think is the future where people start to investors are not no longer investing in brands. Well, they will of course be investing in brands, but I mean investing in people. Like we really think you have potential. Like um Red Bull has done this for a long time. They will pay, they identify, everyone thinks they have like these great athletes. No, they identify upcoming athletes in
Yeah.
extreme sports that they think have a lot of potential. And they basically pay for all of their training, all of their travel, all of their expensive camps. They give them a lot of swagger. And then guess what? These athletes can go on to become successful, are loyal to Red Bull for life, and it's authentic. And so I think if we start looking at investing, like if I just think about my own network, I'm like, I've thought about, gosh, there are people that I'm like, I would 100% put money on you. And it's not, and you know what? If it doesn't work, that's fine. It doesn't work, but it also you learn something. It's a shame, not a waste in that respect. And I really think that, I mean, maybe that's an experiment that I need to do. And I thought about long about this, as you know, Mark. I think investing in people, because like just think about all the people like because that's what you're investing in a brand. You're investing in people now.
Mm.
Like there's no new idea. Like in Hollywood, I think, and I'm not in Hollywood at all, but a producer told me this. He's like, listen, in Hollywood, they've said for years, there's no new idea. It's not it. Nothing's new. It's all about the people and the execution. So what if we start investing in people? I would call it creator equity. And then what if the economic model changes? And
Mm.
I'm just spinning now. But what if the economic model changes and we have some sort of, the audience becomes currency. Like you could get loans with your audience. But there need to be some kind of scale because audience is not enough. Celebrities have audience. Now it's the trust of that audience, the
Yeah.
influence you have over that. What if there is some kind of scale to use? It's like the human algorithm. I don't know.
I think that's been done in some small cases. People have actually sold equity in themselves,
Yeah.
like to fund a record album or something like that. Yeah, but it's an interesting idea. Well, we're actually, believe it or not, at the end of our time here, and I think this is let's see if 2025 is the year. Maybe we'll come back and talk about this again and say, "Oh, Mark, you were right," or "Oh, Mark, you were wrong." But I think it's a huge missed opportunity. So we'll come back and talk about this again. So everyone, thanks for joining us on the show. We'll be back next time with Jay Akunzo, be up next. And thanks for listening. We'll see you next time on The Marketing Companion.